I'll call to order the meeting of the City of Victorville City Council. The first order of business is our invocation. That'll be given by Pastor Rafael Porras, Center for International Prayer Church. Pastor?
Heavenly Father, bless our great nation, our community, and remember, we are, and we give you all the glory. In Jesus' name we pray.
Next will be the Pledge of Allegiance, and that will be led by our own Victorville Police Chief, Cliff Reynolds.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first order of business on the agenda is the public comment. And does anyone wish to address the City Council? You have 3 minutes. Anything you bring before us we cannot take action. But if it's merit to your request, it will be placed on the on a future agenda. So anyone wishing to speak to the City Council under public comment? I do have a card. Norm Miller.
Mr. Mayor, council members, my name is Norman Miller, and at the last meeting there was a comment made by Mr. Caldwell that he thought he might need some help on the new come around that for filling out public comment cards and that, so I just want to make a couple samples for him.
Thank you, Norm.
Mr. Caldwell, would you wish to make any comments to the City Council under public comment?
Well, I just would respond to my good friend Norm that following in your footsteps all of these years, there's no way I can come to the podium and deliver the eloquent questions to the council that you and Dorothy have done all these years, but I'll do my best. That's all I can do.
Thank you much. I also have a card in there for Joanne.
Oh,
and
thank you.
Maybe she can follow my wife.
There you go.
Joanne can say a few. Thank you.
Okay. Also, I'd like to congratulate the contestants in the last election for City Council. And there's one thing I'd like to say, though, is that I hope that the lying, the cheating, the stealing, and everything that was done during the campaign does not get brought into the new chambers next year. My wife and I will be here to see that it doesn't. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to the City Council? Any comments? We do have a request, and this is a letter from Rita Volger, the former mayor of the city of Hesperia, and she wants this letter read into the record.
Tonight, the Victorville City Council will consider and vote for their new mayor. Traditionally, the highest vote getter in the most recent election is awarded the mayor position. Rarely has such been otherwise. I have noticed that when it is politically expedient that not only Victorville has broken with tradition, but so has Hesperia. It appears on each such occasion that a female has placed highest in the election, and the powers that be, most usually the local male Republican clique, have decided to conspire to prevent the female from becoming mayor, as she is perceived as being a threat and perhaps too willing to explain the truth to the public. Despite regional Republican leaders advising against these tactics years ago, the local male politicians nevertheless think that we are still living in the 1950s. To imply that women are not qualified for the position is ludicrous. Councilmember-elect Valles faces such a situation tonight when it is clear that several Victorville council members will try to prevent her mayorship. She is clearly qualified enough through her employment experience and position with the Victor Valley College Board, as well as her formal education, to become the mayor, as it is a position that the Victorville City Council has defined as largely ceremonial. I suggest that Victorville take a giant step towards solving their monumental problems by demonstrating that it will no longer be good enough to practice business as usual and to cast aside its good old boy image. Set an example to the community at large, as well as our county, that will signify that Victorville sincerely is embracing an open and modern governmental image. The most obvious way to demonstrate this to the public is by awarding the mayorship to Angela Valles. Be courageous.
Anyone else wishing to speak under public comment? Hearing none, I will move to, I'm going to rearrange the agenda just a little bit. I'll move to item number 4, and this will be a presentation to council members Almond and Cowell, and I'll do that presentation.
We're going to the principal's office.
We're going to the principal's office?
Yes, you can call to the principal's office.
First of all, it's my pleasure tonight to present this plaque to Joanne Almond, councilwoman from 1994 to 2010. That was 16 years of service to the city of Victorville. Joanne, on a personal note, it was a pleasure sitting here next to you for all these years. I was here at 13, and you've been here at 16, obviously, more than I was. But you know, and I say this with emotion, it's hard to see a friend leave, but sometimes, you know, things come to an end and we must move on. But this is given to you, presented to you with sincere appreciation and deep gratitude for your 16 years of service to the city of Victorville and its citizens. You will be missed by your city family, and I mean that sincerely. Next, I have a proclamation for Terry Cowell. Whereas Terry Cowell began serving as a member of the City Council in 1972, serving 8 terms as mayor and a total of 38 years as a member of the City Council. And whereas Terry Cowell, in his capacity as a member of the City Council, represented the city on numerous civic and governmental agencies and boards, amongst which are, I'm not going to read them all, Terry. They're too long, but they cover the whole spectrum of all the RFPAs, the VITA, and so on. Whereas through those association and its representation of the city of Victorville, Terry Cowell positioned Victorville to be the key city to the high desert. And whereas Terry served the city in fair, honest, and open manner, always voting for what he believed to be best for the citizens of Victorville. Now therefore it be resolved that the City Council of the City of Victorville does hereby applaud, honor, and recognize Terry Cowell for his outstanding and dedicated service to the high desert community and the City of Victorville, and extends best wishes for health and happiness as he retires from a dedicated career as a member of the Victorville City Council. And be it further resolved that the mayor and city council hereby bestow upon Terry Cowell the title of Mayor Emeritus, with all the respect and admiration from the city he has served so well. Thank you, Terry. for your 38 years of service. I should have let you guys stay there. We also have a proclamation, or not a proclamation, but a presentation from Brad Messenfeld's office, Supervisor Brad Messenfeld, and I don't know who's going to make that presentation. We do have a presentation from First District Supervisor Brad Messenfeld.
He is running late. He's trying to get here. He just called me. So he does plan to come.
Okay, we can hold off on that. Thank you. Okay. Then at this time, I would ask remarks, and I would ask Joanne Allman for any remarks that she might have.
Okay. First, I know a lot of the staff are here. I want to say what an honor it has been to sit here in the People's House to serve the citizens of Victorville. I didn't run for this position to further a career, but to do what I could to help our city. During my time here, I have met some very special, wonderful people, especially all our employees. They have become my second family, and they always will be. I will never forget my time as council member and all the wonderful, interesting things that we went through. I'm going to stay involved somehow. I already threatened Mrs. Caldwell that I was going to get involved in the chamber. But I would like to just take a minute and introduce my family. This is my I'd like to introduce my son, our son, Bob Allman. Please stand, honey. My daughter-in-law, Sandra. My grandchildren, Sarah, Michael, and my granddaughter that lives with us, and to become my daughter, Jenny. And last but not least, I haven't forgotten you. I want to introduce my husband of 54 years. Today's his birthday.
Happy birthday.
And he said this was the best birthday gift I could have given him. But all of them have been very supportive behind me for the 16 years. And Bob has been here at every city council meeting and my backbone. And like I said, the staff and employees are my second family. I'll be around to come say hi. And I'll never forget this experience. And the good old boy sitting up here, They're my backbone. We have sometimes agreed to disagree, but I love every single one of them. We've had some very exciting closed sessions, and I'll never forget those. In fact, I'm going to ask once in a while if I can come just sit in the corner and listen. But thank you again for the opportunity to be here in the People's House. And I hope that the people that sit up here from now on will continue to look at this as the People's House and the people's money. And this is just a stepping stone for something else. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Next, we have remarks by Councilman Terry Caldwell. Or I should say Mayor Emeritus Terry Caldwell.
Thank you, Rudy. This is the end of a 40-year odyssey that began back in, I believe, 1968, when I had the good fortune of being asked by Councilman Bert Lugo to serve on the Planning Commission. Then 3 or 4 years later, I had the good fortune of then Mayor Joe Campbell, who had just been appointed to the Superior Court bench by then Governor Reagan, asking me to fulfill the remaining 2 years of his term. So while we talk about approaching 39 years on the council, for me at least the reality is it's been over 40 years, and it has been a wonderful and exciting and a challenging time when I think about what this city was in 1968. And actually, I think about what this city was when I got here in March of 1963, fresh out of college. But over the years, I've had the good fortune, the pleasure of working with a lot of really dedicated professionals, both members of the council and members of the staff. And I won't take the time to try and make specific comments about all of them because there's so many. But I have spent some time reflecting over the last several weeks about this group of people that sit at this dais and a few who sit out in the audience. I'm going to take the liberty, Mr. Mayor, to make some specific observations about each and every one of you. And I'm going to start with Joanne. Joanne, I said to myself in these moments of reflection, what is the thing that stands out most in my mind about all of these years of association? And while there's a lot of things I could comment, I'm only going to pick out one for each of you. And I think the shining light, in my judgment, for you is the tenacity and the resolve that you showed in committing yourself to the Golden Triangle Project. You worked almost alone for a long time to bring the Golden Triangle out of the city of Hesperia's sphere into the city of Victorville sphere, ultimately annexing it to the city of Victorville. And if you go in Jim Cox's office right now and you look at the map on the wall that shows what the city was when it incorporated in September of 1962, and you look at what the city is today, a huge portion of that growth and prosperity of the city of Victorville is directly attributable to your commitment to this city before you were a councilwoman in bringing the Golden Triangle in, and I applaud you for that citizen effort. It made the city of Victorville a better place. Rudy. Well, if I was to get started on you, it would take a long time, but I said I got to keep this restricted to something individual and specific. And I think the thing that I will remember you most for is when Jim and I asked you to come to Victorville, be the fire chief, to take the fledgling volunteer fire department and build it into a first-class regular fire department. You undertook that job under the most difficult of circumstances. Money was not plentiful. We were fighting some very serious internal issues and problems. Your perseverance and your commitment to doing the very best you could for this city resulted not in just a conversion of the volunteer fire department to a full-time, committed group of professionals. You created the first Class 7 fire department anywhere in the desert, and I'm not sure anyone has ever matched that accomplishment for the safety and the welfare of this city. And I want you to know how much I admire you for that professionalism and that commitment. Mike, again, like with Rudy, I mean, you and I have been together for 26 years? Mike ran against me once. Remember that, Mike?
Yeah, came close.
Only counts in horseshoes and grenades. I think what I will remember you most for, Mike, is the loyalty to this city, the love of this city, and your commitment to this city. The two things that stand out in mine is, first, the loneliness of that fight with Adelanto over George Air Force Base. You and Jim Cox and Andre and I think, suffered the agonies of hell for a number of years. Whenever it was a dark period, whenever I knew the vote was critical, whenever I was concerned about the outcome, I knew I could always count on you. You've never faltered. You have never, ever turned your back on a hot issue or an issue that's of importance for this city. And I've got to add that, unrelated to George Air Force Base, but when there were forces that wanted to change the governance of this city, fire Jim Cox, Fire Chief Rudy Cabrialis, and others, there was a period of time when it was a 3-2 vote, you and me, and you never flinched, you never faltered.
We were on the team.
And so I will always remember you for being somebody that could be counted on. Ryan, we haven't served together for long on the council like with Joanne and Rudy and Mike and me. But I feel like I know you much better than the 2 years that we've been here together. I appointed you to the Planning Commission, and people lose sight of the fact that as a Planning Commissioner, as the chairman of the Planning Commission, you have presided over many of the most significant land use decisions in this city's history. You've been involved with the zoning for Desert Express, for the Northern Triangle, issues involving VB2, the conversion to solar, photovoltaic, and the list goes on. So your contribution to this city begins a lot earlier than just 2 years ago when you stepped up to the dais and took the oath. And so I have absolute confidence that you are prepared to continue to lead this city. You have told me of your commitment to a pro-growth, pro-business, pro-job creation agenda, and that you're prepared to pursue the things that will continue to keep Victorville as the key city of the high desert. And although others would quarrel with this, in my opinion, the center of the universe, I guess would give you a couple of words of caution. Don't let the negative comments from the blogs, from the daily press, steer you off course. I encourage you to stay the course, do what your heart and your conscience tells you is best for the city of Victorville, and ignore those doubting Thomases and those negative people who just want to spread hate and discontent. Have the intellect, the experience, and I think the commitment to excellence to lead this city on to bigger and better things. Andre, talk about being in the trenches for years. The battle with Adelanto over the base, the battle with the Air Force over how much we would pay for the base, starting out at some $60 million, and your efforts and Jim's and mine and Kathy Davis, we were able to whittle that down to $1.6 million for 5,000 acres. Best real estate deal ever accomplished up here, and you were an integral part of all of that fight with Adelanto, all of those negotiations with the Air Force and the Department of Defense. Helped structure the redevelopment agency, which is the largest and I think maybe the most successful in this state. And certainly it was your craftsmanship that brought us VITA and the ability for this valley to come together and treat George Air Force Base as the primary economic engine for not just the Victor Valley, but for the entire desert. And although this may sound too personal, there's only 3 people that are still around that were involved in that fight and know that institutional history and know the players. And that's you, Jim Cox, and me. And I'm leaving the dais in a few minutes, so opportunity to take VITA to the next level rests in large measure with you and Jim as the staffers and Ryan as the leader and hopefully the protector of Southern California Logistic Airport. I always want to say George Air Force Base. It's hard for me to change that. Jim, you and I have labored the Biennials together since 1968. And there's little about this city that does not have your imprint, that does not have your professionalism and your intellect. And you, along with Andre, are the last repositories of the history, the institutional knowledge of how important that base is to the welfare of this city and to the economic opportunities of this desert. I have respected you since the first time I met you, except when you would whip me badly on the golf course. I have no doubt in my mind that your stewardship in the most difficult of times has helped this city weather a bad storm, perhaps almost the perfect storm. But you've done it, and if I would have known that December morning when I came to your house and asked you to consider being the interim city manager, if I would have known the amount of grief that you would go through, how much more hair you would lose, and how much bigger the bald spot would become, I would not have asked you to take on that burden. But you've taken it, and you have handled it with dignity and professionalism, and I thank you for that. This next one is a collective comment. Carol Lee, Donna, Marcy, Monica, Tess. These ladies, day in and day out, have to put up with the shenanigans of 5 elected people. We all come in with our own opinions, our own ideas, our own agendas, and these 5 or 6 ladies go out of their way to help each and every member of the council be as successful as they can and to ease the problems that they have to deal with. I mean, poor Carol Lee, she has to sit up here, punch the buttons and tell us when we didn't vote right and all of that kind of stuff. Poor Donna. She has to listen to me, or she's had to up till now, say, oh, I didn't like that particular aspect of the agenda. I want a verbatim transcript first thing in the morning. Won't get that from me anymore. Poor Marcy. Marcy would fill in for Carol Lee when Carol Lee wasn't here. And so I would conspire to figure out some way to have some agenda item where I would make Marcy's life a little uncomfortable for a few minutes. And Tess, I mean, Tess has put up with all of us in terms of trying to do our letters and keep our calendar straight. Monica, pinch hitting for Yvonne now that Yvonne's gone. They're just a wonderful, wonderful group of people. And I would say to the newly elected council persons, group of people you want to stay close to and you want to develop a good working relationship with are those ladies I just identified. They can make your life very, very miserable, or they can assist you and make your life a lot easier. And I will miss the daily interaction with my girlfriends in the city manager's office. To Paula Porter and Larry Huber, my appointees over the years to the Planning Commission, probably one of the most important appointed positions in this city. Thank both of you for your years of loyal service and commitment to this city as my appointee. The last people I want to comment on are my wife, Charlie, my daughters, Carrie and Christy, who are in the audience, and I would ask them to stand with my son-in-law, Brian. For those of you who disagree with my policies and my public policy positions and want to get into some kind of a confrontation about it, my son-in-law is an all-American football player, so bring it on. Bring it on. But my family, I started doing this before I was married and before I had the girls. So my family has never known until in the morning a period of time where I didn't go to council meetings on Tuesday night, parades and ribbon cuttings and all of the things that make up this. You can't do it if you don't have the love and support of your family. And I've always had that. And I'm so grateful, even though I think they're happy, like Joanne's husband. I think they're just delighted that this 40-year odyssey is coming to an end. I thank my family for 40 years of support. Lastly, to the citizens of the city of Victorville, it's been an honor. It's been a privilege. Not enough that I can say thank you for always returning me every 4 years, always giving me the most votes, and always letting me be the mayor for another 2-year term. It has been an honor and a privilege. Whatever Victorville is today, its future tomorrow is far better. Opportunities for progress and for growth and for an improvement in the quality of life. Great, and I'm confident that the 5 people who will occupy this dais under the leadership of Brian McAkron look 2 years from now and say we made a quantum leap forward, and I will be here in 2 years to applaud the quantum leap forward. Thank you one and all for being here. Thank you for the privilege of serving.
We also we have a request from Mike, who would like to say a few words.
Yeah, I'm not on the agenda, but proclamation here, it's nice. It highlights some of the things that Terry's been involved with over the last 40 years with the city, but there isn't enough words to put on a proclamation to quantify the value that this city has had with Terry on the council. You picked one for each of us. I'm going to pick one for you. And I'll tell you, the signature for Terry Caldwell is going to be George Air Force Base becoming SCLA. You can forgive him for calling it George Air Force Base. We all lived with it growing up. Matter of fact, even when I was in the Navy, I left my family here when I went to Vietnam. So, I mean, that's how far my roots go back. So the fact is that what we have at SCLA today is almost exclusively his prize. Now, yes, there's 5 of us, and yes, we do policies, and yes, we get together, and then we give marching orders. But the one guy that each of us set in our little niches in this community and serve on a committee, Terry's was the base, SCLA. He had more hours. Andre's the only one that could match the number of hours, the number of places, the travel that he has done to put this footprint in place, starting with the 800 jobs for the federal prison and working on up to the 3,000 jobs out at the airport, and the potential coming at us. In spite of, think of California, how dysfunctional this state is. There's very few places that you could come into this state today and actually set up and do business fresh. The high desert, SCLA, is one of those spots. And that is primarily due to all the work that Terry has done on this. We started with our $350 a month, and we're all the way up to, I don't know, $800 or $900 now. I'm not sure what our actual is. That's what we get a month to do the thousands of hours that we participate in our communities. But this footprint, everybody in this valley, the 400,000 people in this valley, the million that we will see here in the next 15 years and more, it has to be attributed to Terry. He is an incredibly honest individual. He has given more of his time than most people could reasonably expect from a council when we all have full-time jobs outside of this dais up here. So I just wanted to put that. I've sat next to Terry for over 24 years. When he ran 2 years into his appointment, that was the first time I ran. I ran numerous times and lost, but that time I got to know Terry, and when the campaign was over, I said, I don't know who you are, except I've seen you in this campaign, and I have a feeling that you and I are going to be good friends for a long time to come. And that was when he was in John Delatorre's office, and he and I remember that conversation I had, and we've been the best of friends ever since, and his 2 daughters are part of my family. They both came through my classrooms. I love them, and I love the family, the Caldwell family. So with that, thank you, Terry.
Thank you, Mike. Brian, would you like to make a comment? Yeah.
Well, I wasn't expecting to speak either, but to both Joanne and Terry, my sincere appreciation for all the years that you've given to this community. It's something that we all set out to do. We want to make our community better. For me, it started with my father coming out to Arizona State when I was selling women's shoes at Dillard's and thought I had a great job, and why would I ever leave that, asking me to come back here and work in the insurance business. And I reluctantly agreed to, but told him, I said, if I'm coming back to the high desert, you got to let me get involved. And I've never regretted a day since. So I think giving back to your community is the best thing you can do, and I only hope that I can do it as well as both of you have done, and so I thank you both for all the years of service you've given to this city, and I expect that you will be back and be in our faces, much like Norm and Dorothy Miller are on a regular basis. So, first card.
Thank you, Brian. I will now get back on the agenda. And we have item number 2, which is statement of election results by the city clerk.
The number of votes given in the city to persons voted for to office of member of the city council were as follows. Sanford W. Kramer III, 1,527. James N. Kennedy, 4,860. Rob Kurth, 4,418. Angela Valles, 6,558. Michelle Medina, 2,229. Dorothy Miller, 1,770. Sharon Murguia, 829. Joanne Almond, 3,370. Total registered voters in the city, 37,881. Total ballots counted, 18,964. Voter turnout, 50.06%.
Item number 3, and the vote will be by voice vote. Our machines aren't working tonight because of the change in the city council. Item number 3 is adoption of resolution number 10-086, entitled a resolution of the city council of the city of Victorville, California, reciting the fact of the general municipal election held on November the 2nd, 2010, declaring the result and such other matters as provided by law.
Move adoption of proposed resolution 10-086.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is Brett Messenfeld, is he back?
Have to wing it, Garner.
Yeah, he is on the freeway. He said, proceed
Okay.
on, and he would
Then
present to Joanne.
We're going to
at another
proceed,
time.
and at the time he comes, then we'll make some time
Okay,
for him.
will do.
We've covered item 4, 5, and 6. Item number 7, presentation of certificates of election by city clerk.
First, I would like to ask Councilmember-elect Kennedy to join me in the front. I will present the certificate of election and administer the oath of office. And then following that, the certificate of election will be presented to Councilmember-elect Valles and the oath administered to her by Town Council Member Rick Raleigh.
Stay or leave?
I'm ready. We're not going.
I do solemnly swear the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemy, foreign, domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
I do.
Congratulations. Thank you.
we go?
Yeah. At this time, I will call for the seating of the newly elected council members. We'll now have remarks by Councilmember Kennedy, and that'll be followed by Councilmember Bias.
Just a couple of things. I left LAX at 4:30 today, and wasn't sure I could do it in 3 hours, and I did it in about 2 hours and 50 minutes. So if I'd known Terry had so much to say, I would have gone home and put on a suit. The other comment, one other comment I want to make is not my original. It was Carol Yule's comment a couple of weeks ago when she said it was about time for Terry Caldwell to step aside and make room for a younger person.
The new guard.
But in my almost 3-hour drive here tonight, I had plenty of time to think, and one of the things that should not go unnoticed is that this is December 7th, known to all of us as Pearl Harbor Day. And there were important things that happened on that day 69 years ago. But rather than focus on the military event, I think there's another thing that we really should give a little thought to, and that is the effect that that event had on our country in such a short space of time. Our people pulled together in a unified effort to deal with a common enemy, but to solve a common problem. And it was that spirit of unity on December 7th that carried forward for the next 4 or 5 years and beyond. And there may not have been an event in our history that quite motivated and captured that spirit of unity. And that's not uniformity. That's not that everybody agreed about everything, but a common purpose, a common goal, and an attitude and a belief in unity and what we can accomplish with unified effort. So if there's a spirit that I hope guides this council, and let's let December 7th be the motivation for that, it'll be a spirit of unity in the years to come. Thank you all for the honor, and I hope to live up to your expectations. Thank you.
Angela?
I would like to thank the supporters and the voters for having confidence in me. And I can promise you that I will bring back integrity and honesty and transparency to City Council. And I'd like to thank my family, and Rick Raleigh, and Mackenzie, and Dan Tate, and all those people that have really pushed for me to get this seat and believed in me. And I won't let you down. Thank you.
Okay, I do have First District Supervisor Brett Messenfeld, who has a presentation, and Brad.
Good evening. Sorry I'm a little late. I had to go to Hesperia first. Actually, wow. Let me explain. The reason is because I had to swear someone in Hesperia. So anyway, I got here as quick as I could. And it's a great honor and pleasure to be here. And once again, watch a new leadership team take over in one of our great cities here in High Desert. I congratulate you, new and returning leaders, and I look forward to working with all of you, as always, for the betterment of our mutual constituents. What I'm here to do right now, very simply, is to recognize someone I consider to be a friend and someone who's been a great servant to the city of Victorville, and that is Councilmember Joanne Allman, who is being honored with this resolution from the Board of Supervisors of the county. So, Joanne, could you come forward, please? After the Board of Supervisors, which I will not read, but outlines your public service career here in the city, and which has gone, of course, well beyond your service on the City Council, but in no small part your service on the City Council, which is deserving of a lot of respect, and you should be proud, and my best wishes go with you in the future. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Brandon. Item number 11, I will turn this part of the meeting over to our city clerk, who will call for nominations for mayor.
Nominations for the office of mayor are now open.
Move nomination for Ryan McCachran.
Second.
All those in favor?
We need to close nomination.
Can we do it by voice?
If there are no other nominations, it would be appropriate for the council to vote on this, on the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Ryan?
Rudy, and didn't tell me how much this thing weighs. Made out of gold. All right, at this point in time, it's my duty to call for nominations of Mayor Pro Tem, and I'd like to nominate Rudy Cabrialis to be my Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, Rudy, congratulations, and
Thank you.
I'll give you an opportunity to say a few
Thank you,
words,
Ryan.
since you're the only one that hasn't tonight. So,
I would just like to, first of all, thank everyone in the city, all our employees, our residents, all the people that supported me during the past 2 years. We came into a difficult time. It was extremely challenging, and when I got the most votes, I almost was hoping I wasn't going to get the most votes, because it was really real trying times. And I'm just fortunate that we did have the ability to get Mr. Cox on board through his efforts and our senior staff and all the workforce in the city of Victorville. We have been able to prevail. We've overcome many of the challenges that we were facing. We're not out of the woods yet. And Ryan has some work still left for him. But most of all, I would like to thank my wife and my family. Vicki, stand up. I said stand up. For her support and the support of my family and all my friends, Pastor Porras, and all of you that have supported me in the past. It's difficult, as Jim alluded to, that Pearl Harbor Day what brought us all together, but let's not forget that we had just experienced a democracy at its best. We have elections in this country, and they're peaceful and orderly, and power changes, and there's no violence, which doesn't happen all over the world. Problem in this country is, for all these years that we've been in existence, that system has worked for us, and it'll continue to work. And as Jim mentioned, World War II brought us all together. Well, the elections are over. Let's all work together for the betterment of the city of Victorville. But one thing I would like to mention is that when it comes to our families and our wives or our spouses, they take a beating during the time we're in office also. The newspapers, like Terry mentioned, every other day there was a nasty story about the city of Victorville, and it's hard. We learn to deal with that, but our families, unfortunately, they're the ones that sacrifice, and then the elections come around, and we get all this negativity about the city and our staff and so on. Well, I'm offended by all that, but I like to apologize for my wife for her having to bear all that throughout the last couple of years, and so we only have 2 more years left, and then you won't have to do that anymore. But anyway, thank you all very much, and I'm going to support Ryan. We've been on track for the last 2 years, and he's a very sharp young man. Somebody mentioned the changing of the guard. It's time. Its time has come, and the old guard is fading out, and the new guard will step in, and they'll continue to do the right things for the city of Victorville, as it's been done for all this time. So, Ryan, congratulations. Angela, congratulations. Jim, congratulations. I know you guys will do a good job. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Rudy, and that reminds me that some of the comments that you've made, obviously the last 2 years have been quite a roller coaster for me and my wife and our family and my parents and our business, and I appreciate all their support and everything that they've done. And if I could publicly ask Charlie as well as Vicki if you could be there for my wife, because you've been through it. Charlie, you way too many times, but I suggested that my wife ought to visit with the both of you just to understand that this role as mayor is somewhat ceremonial, but I remember 2 years ago when Rudy became mayor, and this council sent him to Venezuela, and I would never have wanted to do that. But it was necessary at the time, and he was the right man for the job. And I cannot overwhelmingly thank you, Rudy, enough for what you've done for the city for the last 2 years. You served in probably one of the worst economic times possible, but you did it with honor, and you did it with all the respect of this council and the citizens of Victorville, and I think all of us thank you very much for everything that you did. Thank you. All right, well, the last order of business is to adjourn this meeting to December 14th. We would normally have it on the 3rd Tuesday of the month, but since some of us are going to be gone for the holidays at that meeting, we're going to have our next council meeting next Tuesday on December 14th. So with that, we're adjourned.